Alright, so I've already done a video today, and that's normally more than I would normally do in a while, right? Because if you look at my channel, it's been a decent while since I've actually uploaded a video speaking like this. So, this video is going to be about solar energies right now, and just some little proofs that we are definitely getting activated right now, for sure. And that solar energies right now are kind of nothing compared to what they actually will be, honestly. So, when it comes to recording solar energy, the Matrix nations like to use something called UV index, and this is basically an index where they record the actual energy output. They record the total energy output and receiving using devices, essentially, right? They measure the energy output of UV radiation that is received from the sun to the recording device that they hold in their hands, right? So, just to give you an example of actual UV index feeling, the UK, the United Kingdom, during a summer is noted to be at a UV of 6. Meanwhile, the UV in somewhere like, for example, Arizona in a summer day is more like 12. And the UV in a slum place like the equator or somewhere like that is known to be somewhere like 18 or 22, something like that at its highest peak. So that is example of UV input, right? Now the thing is, right, the UV index is not going to go up that much higher during these solar flares, for these first solar flares that are coming in. What's coming in at what you feel right now, the energies you feel right now, are not UV. They're cosmic rays, they're gamma rays, they're X-rays. These things that are pretty much not really measured by the scientists right now. They're not really measuring, they're not telling you how high these X-rays, gamma rays, and cosmic rays are, because they're fucking high as fuck. They're so high right now that you have no choice but to activate and ascend. But an example of UV rays increasing, and a real fucking true example actually as to why these mountains are trees, is because you should look at the relative ozone. I'm gonna get into really technical terms right now, so don't worry if you can't follow along, okay? Just rewatch the video. So ozone is actually a technology. It means pretty much oxygen zone. And it's a form of artificial gas, because oxygen is an artificial gas, it's synthetic, it's not natural to this planet. Hydrogen is the natural gas of this planet. It's a form of densifying, essentially, making it dense. I know that's not the word, but it's a form of making oxygen a dense factor within the air around you, essentially. And this is why actually aerokinesis is kind of rare right now. You might feel a bit detached from the element of air right now, even though you might be an air sign. That's because that ain't air, bro, that's oxygen. So you can't really control oxygen like you can control hydrogen, okay? But you can definitely control hydrogen naturally, very naturally, okay? And that's why, if you want to tap into an element, fire is the most fire is the easiest element to tap in. And so is the ground, because the ground and the fire have remained unchanged, essentially, right? Water has been manipulated by the oxygen as well, partially. This is why it's H2O, even though essentially water naturally is actually just liquid hydrogen, pretty much. And you might not believe, how is this able to be even in a stable state? Because you might think that it's too cold to actually be in that type of state. Well, because we have different types of properties and different types of isotopes of certain particles, we can definitely keep a liquid form of hydrogen, for sure. You know what I mean? So, one thing you should know is this ozone changes the weather, like the temperature of the area around you. It also changes the UV index. So, for example, in a place like the UK, in the quote-unquote winter, okay, the ozone gets intensified and the temperatures go down to about 0 degrees Celsius, okay? Meanwhile, the UV index also goes to about 1 or 2 or 0. So what this means is that essentially at that temperature, it is about 6 quote-unquote times less than what it actually is naturally, okay? Now, that means that at an ozone comparison of about 30 degrees, if 30 degrees Celsius goes to about, if 30 degrees Celsius goes to the level of about 0 degrees Celsius, that's a decrease of about, that's a decrease of about 6 UV, okay, per 30 degrees. Or maybe it's about 25 degrees, okay? So that's 6 times less. Now, this is where I go into things now. At higher altitudes, for example, in a higher altitude place, right, it is said that UV is higher. Now, this is false. First of all, they cannot prove that higher altitudes actually equal higher UV. The reason why is because UV is the only way that these people actually go higher altitudes is by mountains. So the trees are where the higher UV is input. And this makes a lot of sense because high UV would require high tree production. As you can see in these higher altitudes, as we know that oxygen and cold temperatures are unnatural, these higher altitudes producing cold temperatures would indicate a higher increase in the ozone production / winter technology. So because there's an increase in ozone production / in winter technology, and there's already a high amount of it on these locations, this would mean that essentially these places have been modified and that the UV index is much higher than it normally is at these locations, right? Well, actually, no, it's much lower than it normally is at these locations, right? So, for example, fucking flea, bro, honestly. Yeah, I just have to fucking kill that flea. Like I said, bro, any gnats, any type of flies or mosquitoes, they're not natural to the planet either, alright? They spread disease and they're drones. They don't exist. Okay? They're fake. They're not, like, they're robots, bro. Literally, okay? But now let's look at an example of the UV indexes at these high locations. Like, for example, Mount Kilimanjaro, okay, in Africa, in Kenya, okay? At the top of that location, the UV index is like 40, I think. It's like about 40. So 40 times 6, because we need to account for the ozone being off. What is that? It's about 240, right? Yeah. So you're talking about 240 UV index. What? That's demonstrably huge, isn't it? That's massive, right? And that gets higher and higher the higher altitude you go, relatively speaking, compared to these trees, right? Because on Mount Everest, the temperatures are more like minus 12 times the amount of actual ozone comparative to the amount of sunlight. So on Mount Everest, and the UV naturally Mount Everest is like 60, literally. So the UV at these locations is like 500 on the UV index right now. Imagine the level of solar flare radiation up there right now because of the shift. But think about it though. There's no other explanation for this high amount of UV radiation coming to these locations apart from giant trees. These UV rays that are hitting those locations right now mean that these giant trees are getting the adequate nutrition, but they're redirecting heavy amounts of ozone technology to these trees because they don't want them to grow. Does that make sense? That's the only reason why they're actually directing these trees. And like I said, you can look at a previous video of mine. It makes zero sense. Cold is not a natural part of this reality. How do you know that? Because I know that, bro. It's a natural thing. You would never know because, like I said, right? If you're right now questioning how can cold be an unnatural part of this planet, if you're right now questioning right now how cold can be unnatural, you're not like me. Like me and you, we're not even alike, bro. You know what I mean? We're not even in the same category, bro. You're not built like me, all right? You're just not, okay? Because you accept things that you see that are being taught to you, okay? I accept things that I know. I know that heat is the natural element of this planet. I know that those mountains out there are actually trees. I know that. Okay? But if you want to get into a more technical and more proof part, you can look at my previous videos, okay? Realistically, okay? With all that being said, I think this is a real eye-opener for you right now. Eye-opener, you know what I mean? This is a real eye-opener right now because this means that there's literally 500 on the UV index. That's about 5. Imagine how that feels, bro. Because if you live in America right now, or if you live in the UK, right? Imagine a summer is 6 or 12. Imagine these places are 500. That would supply a giant tree. Duh. These people are so fucking stupid that they can't even fathom in their mind that this is possible. But it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense because it's possible. And when you realize that ozone technology is unnatural and fake to this planet, it's the only conclusion, literally. Why is there so much UV at this location? Why is there so much UV at this altitude right now? At this high place? Why are they trying to boost up the winter technology so high right now? At these locations? Why? Why? Huh? You know why. You know why. Because it's the trees. These trees bore fruit that would literally turn you into superpowers right now, bro. Look at One Piece, the anime. The devil fruits, that's the... Those are fruits. That's the fruits that our fucking giant trees made, bro. That Kilimanjaro mountain you saw, bro, that was a tree. And that tree bore fruits like the devil fruits, literally. The resin is called shilajit, where a tiny pea-sized amount can literally make you feel amazing. It will boost your body so hard, literally. That's facts. Anyway, peace. Just a quick little video, pretty much. There you go.